It's right on his head. Sound. Hold on. I ain't too used to seeing y'all in person. I used to be talking on the phone.
Yeah. Who is it? Show his grave.
Yeah, I can see the front of his grave. Guess I can talk back here. I ain't gotta worry about me being in it. Okay. Today we're gonna talk to Miss Jackie Johnson. Miss Jackie Johnson is the mother of Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old that was found deceased at Lowndes High School on January 10th of 2013. I appreciate you being here for me today, Miss Jackson. Miss Jackie, appreciate taking the time. I just want to start off with you telling everybody a little bit something about Kendrick.
Kendrick was,
Just like him.
Kendrick was my baby boy. He was funny. He was the joy of our house. He thought even though he was a baby boy, he thought he was the big brother. You know, he used to like to sit down the rules for everybody and tell everybody what to do. He was our happy child. But if he didn't know you, he wouldn't really talk to you or like really respond, interact with you. But if you asked him a question, he would respond. Kendrick played 3 sports. He played basketball, football, and he ran track. But football was his passion in life. He just knew one day that he would be an NFL player, and sadly to say, his life was cut short.
So if you would, I know you probably went through this already 100 times before. Can you take us back through January 9th, 2013?
January 10th. The 10th.
The day he left for school.
Okay, January the 10th, Kendrick was like a normal day. We got up. I was a bus driver at that time for that school system. We got up. Kendrick was a person that didn't like to get up, but he loved school. So, you know, he was like mostly quiet in the morning times. And we got up, normal day, nothing strange, out of the ordinary. He got up, got to the bus job, told me bye, told one another love each other, got on the bus and went to school. So that evening, Kendrick didn't come home on the bus. So I asked this driver, where was Kendrick? She was like, he didn't ride the bus, was he supposed to? And I was like, yeah, well, maybe he stayed out at the school for a basketball game. So I went home. On my way home, I called my husband and told her, Kendrick didn't ride the bus back home. So maybe he stayed for a football game. So we started calling the other children, started calling people at school, asking them, had they seen Kendrick? Did Kendrick stay after school? And nobody had seen him. So it gets late, about 8 o'clock, still nobody had heard from Kendrick. So we went to call him back to his sister and them, and you know, some of my friends that drove buses at the schoolhouse and asked them did they see Kendrick at the game or had they seen Kendrick? And nobody had seen Kendrick. So by then, you know, I'm sure enough worried, because I know by now you would either have reached out to your dad, because he drove trucks, or either you would have reached out to one of your siblings. But nobody had heard from him. So in the back of my mind, I know something is wrong. Even though you were supposed to be at school, you know, I know something was wrong. So by then I called my husband back. I say, do you want me to go ahead and call the police? And it's about, I want to say about 11 o'clock then. So it's about 11 o'clock. So I talked, the police came out, and one of the first words he could get out his mouth, well, he probably just at some fast tail girl house and done went to sleep. I'm like, sir, they know I don't play that. They know it'd be World War III. No, they ain't at no fast tail girl house. He ain't there. You know what I'm saying? Because you know your children. Like, they know when I say be in the house at 10 o'clock, it's a school night. You're going to be in there at 10 o'clock or 9:59, not 10:01, not 10:02, but you're going to be in there at 10 o'clock. So no Kendrick. So he was like, well, I just go ride and canvass the neighborhood and, you know, see if he, you know, walking up the street and stuff. And I'm just like, okay. So I called my husband back. He was like, go out there and go ride around the schoolhouse, because at this point he had just brought a truck and he was way off somewhere. I can't even remember where he was. So I get in my truck and I just go canvass Lowndes High School, and I'm still calling people, asking them, you know, had they seen Kendrick. Then my kids calling people, you know, because they knew all his friends and stuff too, calling, asking, you know, when was the last time they seen Kendrick. So still no Kendrick all night long, you know, we waited. So the police officer did call back a time and asked, hey, he came home, and I was like, no. So then the police officer that I was talking to, he was like, well, we're going to go ahead and put him in as a missing child. Now, mind you, it haven't been 24 hours. This is how I know they knew something was wrong. Remind you, it haven't been 24 hours. So we're going to go ahead and put him in as a missing child. And if he comes to school in the morning, you will be notified. No notified, because by the time they got to school, I'm walking in their building. Like, have y'all heard anything about kids? He comes pulling up pieces. Well, we don't went to his class and he didn't come to class. You can go ahead and go home, and if anything comes up, we'll give you a call. I said, go home? I said, no, I ain't finna go home. So I went over there and started talking about my daughter's guidance counselor, because she had finished school, but she just had to pass that test that needed to be passed. So I asked her, I said, well, ma'am, did you know that Kendrick was missing? He didn't come home last night. She was like, no. She started automatically calling kids out of class, asking them, when was the last time you seen Kendrick, and where did you see him at? And some said 3rd block, some said 4th block. So I'm still sitting at her office, and she get a phone call while I'm sitting in her office, and me and her just, talking. So she answers the phone. A man says, well, we just found the body in the gym. And now, mind you, that tweets came out at 7-something that they seen a body in the gym, but they tried to make like they didn't find the body till 10-something that morning. While I'm still at school from time school take in to 10-something. So I'm just sitting there. The man said, we just found the body in the gym. And she was like, oh yeah, she was just sitting there, you could tell. But I can hear the voice on the phone because the phone is up so loud. I'm hearing the man talking. She just like, and she'll just drop her head. But I'm still sitting there, I'm just looking at you like, and you're not gonna say not one word. So by then it's a group of women standing outside the window looking in at me. So she hangs up the phone, get up and go out and talk to the ladies. And then my friend had called and she was like, why is all these ambulances and polices out here? And so I was like, I don't know. She said, well, I'm out here because she came to get my grandbaby. So I started walking downstairs, and the lady was like, you want me to take him down to her? And I was like, no, he don't know you. Like, why would I give my child to you? And I already got one missing. Like, lady, no. So we walking downstairs, and those group of ladies started walking behind me, and I'm looking like, what? Y'all ain't even had the nerve to say that they just found the body in the gym, but all y'all following me because everybody know at this point now.
What is?
Everybody know. So I'm walking downstairs, and they walking behind me, not close, but they walking behind me. So by the time I get out the door, I see the deputy lady, black lady that's sitting there, and I asked her, I said, is that my child they just found in the gym? And she was like, where's your daughter? I was like, she's coming right there, because my daughter was walking back up. She had went and started talking to some of the students at school. So by that time, I said, there she goes. So I asked her again, was that my child? This is how I found out that was my child in the gym. I asked her, again, is that my child? And she told me, yes. And then I just lost it. Like, I already knew in my heart something was wrong with Kendrick, because that night, Kendrick used to come home because his sister used to stay like a street over. He would walk through the path, and that path had this white big glow on it all night long. All night long, that glow was there. And I was just like, I'm going to still trust God till I see for myself. Even though that day, they didn't let us in the gym because they was in there tampering with his body then. They didn't let us in the gym that day. They didn't want us nowhere at the gym. They took us from the schoolhouse, I'll say that building over there, and probably that 3rd tree over there is for how far they took us out the campus down to the little superintendent's office where they sit up at, to move us from the gym because they already in there tampering with my baby body. So I was there from 8 o'clock that morning to 5:45 that night. Then that's when they came in there and told us that the body that they found was Kendrick Johnson. He had no bruises, no scars, no physical marks, so they don't know what happened. But they know it wasn't a homicide. But how? The sheriff went on the news that day and called it an accident. How he know? From day one. The same day while the investigation, while they in the gym, supposed to have been working the scene, how you know it wasn't a murder? You don't call it an accident from day one. This is how you know they was already working together and knew what the world was going on. So they comes out later on to say Kendrick fell in the mat trying to retrieve a tennis shoe. First they say he got stuck in the mat because they told my husband he went in feet first and he got stuck and his body went limp inside the little bit of hole that he couldn't fit in. And then he slumped over. And my husband was like, hell no, ain't no way. Ain't no way. My husband was arguing back and forth with all of them. I'm sitting there and cause I'm just out of it. I got a dead child at this point. I'm trying to grasp it that I got a dead child at this point. But my husband is back and forth with them. So the next day, after my husband told them ain't no way in the world that could have happened that way, they done came back, he was head down in the mat. That's where they come up with that other theory. They done had to sit at the clean table and try to figure out a whole nother lie to come up with. That's when they tried to stick with the theory that he tried to get a tennis shoe. But this is my thing, for people that's so dumb and quick to believe what the police officers say. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 bleachers you got to step on. Then you got to climb over to get on the mat. There's no way you can fall in the mat. And you were in the middle mat, so there's no way you can fall in the mat. So you're going to tell me he climbed and kept climbing till he wiggled and squeezed his way. Like, come on, just to get a pair of shoes. First of all, you already got on a pair of tennis shoes. So it ain't that serious to get no tennis shoes if the tennis shoes way down to the bottom of the mat. What you know you couldn't reach, it's dark. You can't even see if the shoes in that particular mat. You got to make this here make sense of what the foolishness they saying. So as they kept telling us this lie after that, because they didn't never let me identify Kendrick's body. This is how we got a chance to go to the sheriff's office, because my husband and I and a couple of my family members got on news, and we demanded that Kendrick's body did not leave Valdosta, Georgia until my husband or I identified that body. They tried to let my daughter identify his body by a tennis shoe they had on a phone. Like plenty of people got Adidas tennis shoes. That could have came from anywhere. So we did that, and we finally, when we got through talking to them at the police station, that's when they told us to follow them over there. I couldn't come in. Those were their words, because I was already hysterical. They used that word. So it would have to be him to come in and identify Kendrick's body. So once my husband got in there, he said they opened. He said he was literally nervous about what he was finna see, because the man kept saying, you know, it's very disturbing, but you had just said there was no bruises, no physical marks. But my husband said, honey, you couldn't have took that when you went in there. What he seen in that cooler, where they had Kendrick at. Now, mind you this, the crime lab here was not even operational. So why was my son's body took there? A body supposed to be took to a funeral home, but they took his body there to continue to contaminate it. But my husband said when they opened the drawer, he came out. He came out the drawer. So they already trying to make decomposition come on in quicker. So my husband said, he say, dang, why he came out there? Don't this supposed to be called? So the man gonna try to say, well, you probably think it's heat because you're nervous about it. He said, no, shit, no. He said, it's heat coming out of there. And my husband say, so they went to, you know, I guess fussing back and forth again. So he said they unzipped that bag, and he say it's a vision that he could always remember in his head when he looked down and seen my son's body in that bag, the way he was beat up and bruised up. But yet they expect you to think that a mat beat him up. And we all know a mat don't bust your lip, a mat don't break your nose, a mat do not peel off your skin the way we had a baby that was born that had skin slippage and all that. We know what that looked like. You can't tell us anything. And matter of fact, she's right up here in the same cemetery, and she was born on Kendrick's birthday. A year later, on Kendrick's birthday. So one thing about the junction, you're not finna tell us anything. We may look dumb, we may not be the brightest people, but we ain't plumb dumb. We know our children, and the first thing y'all couldn't never tell us is that my son tried to get into a mat. We know my children would have took the mats, knocked the mats down, grabbed his sneakers, and went on to class, left the mats right there on that floor. That's my Kendrick. I know him. So as all this going on, you know they telling us all them lies. Our toxic come back 4 months later, positional asphyxiation, which we know that was a lie. Because all the vomit, all which they think we don't know about, they had to call a cleaning company to come in and clean up the blood. It was so much blood there, and it was so much vomit there. A cleaning company had to come in. Then the shoe that he was supposed to be reaching for, no blood was on it, no vomit was on it, but yeah, it was under his head. He got dreads, so come on, this is how dumb you know. He got dreads, and if he's throwing up and vomiting, and he's upside down, that vomit gonna fall directly in that shoe. His dreads dripping, it's gonna be dripping out. Like, come on, like they were so dumb and stupid, and this is what they expect the world to believe. And some of the people in the world, they do take it to believe, but some of them just go along with it just because they're the same. It's sad to say, but it's the truth.
I guess in the beginning, I can only go off the news clip I saw.
Right.
In the beginning, the coroner at the time, they say he was notified about 5 hours after the fact of them finding the body. And the coroner talked to CNN, and he told CNN that the body had been tampered with, and he thought the scene had been compromised. And a few days later, he contacted CNN and asked them to destroy that interview and not air it. That's true.
Yeah, because they done got to him by then. Then they want to say that he's crazy, his mind wasn't all good. But his mind be good enough to tell you about the rest of the murders. Why it wasn't good enough to tell him about Kendrick Johnson murders? He been in there in office all these years, so all of a sudden with Kendrick murder, his mind just ain't right. You know, he comes and goes. It ain't come and go for nobody else murder, it just comes and go with Kendrick's on. That man know what he was talking about. That man even called us at the funeral home in the beginning and sat us in the office at the funeral home and told us that he was not finna be in the middle of no lies, that Kendrick body, they told him that they unrolled Kendrick body and they rolled it back up. They unrolled, but he said, well, if you had already unrolled it, what the hell did you roll it back up for?
Is that coroner still currently in office?
No, they got him and got him out of there.
Got him out of office. And that sheriff, that's an old sheriff. That's not the same sheriff anymore that was the sheriff then.
No, that's not the same sheriff. He's the old sheriff that was the sheriff before this sheriff got in, the one that was in office when Kendrick was killed. See, he done got away with a whole bunch of old stuff that's on his plate too. So you can't do nothing right because they got this here over your head because they know what you done. So you can't do the right thing. You got to go with what they say. Or you gonna be in a real trouble. A lot of stuff gonna come back and unfold on your butt. The stuff that you done.
Okay. So I guess at some point I thought I saw the DOJ. Did the DOJ take over the investigation?
The DOJ took over the investigation under Michael Moore. Michael Moore got scared. They was harassed and threatened him, and he got scared and he left Kendrick's case hanging. He said out of his own mouth, wherever the chips may fall, is what it was gonna be. And they threatened to harass you so much till you quit your Department of Justice job and you went back to being just a regular attorney. Now you are an analyst for CNN. How can you be an analyst for CNN and you scared to tell the truth about what you were finding? You let somebody threaten your life, your job, and you ran. But you got the nerve to sit up there and be an analysis, however you say it, for CNN. Like,
so who's currently conducting the investigation, or is there current?
No, it's closed right now.
It's officially closed.
But that's a good thing, because the sheriff, Ashley Paul, the city, he reopened the investigation. So that means he restarted the clock for Kendrick Johnson. He don't know why you trying to be nice and nasty. Because only reason you reopened it, because you had went around to all the black people in the barbershops and the black people's neighborhoods and stuff and said, if you get back in office, that you were going to reopen Kendrick's case. So you went back in there, so you reopened it just so you can say, well, I said I was going to reopen it.
That don't mean you're going to.
Right. So that's how you slipped that in there. You reopened it, but you thought you was being funny. But guess what? You restarted the whole clock for Kendrick Johnson. So we appreciate you for that. While you think you being smart, God outsmarting you all.
Right. I just got like maybe 2 more things. I'll be done. If you could say something to those responsible, I don't think if anybody ever asked you that, what would you say to the people that's responsible for this?
Take responsibility for what you did. A lot of y'all are having kids now, and one day your kids will see that same karma. Take responsibility so it don't fall on your child. You won't want nothing like this to happen to your child, and you be left in limbo for the years, the 10 long years that the Johnson family has been suffering. So I'm asking you, to the alleged killers, the real killers, y'all know who y'all are, we know who y'all are, to come forward and take accountability of what you have done to Kendrick Johnson.
And I guess the big thing everybody want to know, everybody asks, we all talk about it. Do you think this was a well orchestrated cover-up?
Yes,
by the city or the school board or everybody?
Everybody pretty much in the city of Valdosta, that's an agency, it's got their fingertip in this here. Why are those alleged killers so important? It's because of who their parents are. And it's a shame that a 17-year-old black boy that was going to school and wasn't bothering nobody, trying to get his education, end up dead at a high school with 3,000 students, staff, faculty, coaches, and nobody seen or heard anything. Nobody stood up for Kendrick. Nobody. And yet they expect us to believe what they say, take their word. They want us to shut up, tuck our tails and go away. But one thing about us, we're not going nowhere. We're going to continue to fight for Kendrick Johnson. We're going to continue to let them know it's not okay what happened to Kendrick Johnson. And no, we do not believe y'all, and we will never believe y'all. We all know Kendrick Johnson was murdered.
And I guess I should have mentioned it earlier, one more place. There was talk on news about the video footage. Do you think the video footage was tampered with?
It very well was tampered with. We had it sent down to some analysts that works in that field, and yes, all kind of different things was missing. Tops of people's top wasn't going with the bottoms. They had slit the feet some kind of way. However they do it, yes, it was tampered with very much. The days were playing that were days before the accident happened, all kind of stuff. But yet they got all this information and still don't want to hold those accountable. Even when the documentary came out, the sheriff lied. I'm gonna just call him what, lied and say he even never watched the documentary. I know you and a whole bunch of them couldn't wait till that movie hit. Y'all was the first one sitting in there. And I'm talking about for months and months, every time we brought out something, this is how they work in Valdosta. Every time we brought out something, they were right there to try to cut it off and make like it's a lie. But when that documentary came out, I swear for a whole 6-7 months, you never heard one word about that documentary. One word. Because they know they done got caught in the lie. First you said the alleged killer was nowhere near Kendrick. He was in class. But yet you see him side by side with Kendrick, behind him, and in the lunchroom behind him. This is the things y'all done tried to blot out. But then see, this is how I know the FBI agents. A lot of them won't win what they know they was doing. Because they left that file in there for the government. Because they could have got rid of that file, you see. They left that file in there because they wanted it to come out someday. But yet they still haven't done nothing about it. That's how you know all of them quicker. The FBI, the GBI, the crime labs, the DA, the sheriff department, the city police, all of them work together. And they want to keep that lie in that little huddle. But it's coming out. It's coming out. It's coming out.
Well, you guys, I thank you for your time, Ms. Johnson. I appreciate you. You guys are about to end it.